The community at Scenery Park in East London in the Eastern Cape, where 21 young people, including teenagers, died at eNyobeni tavern a week ago, say they are still confused and puzzled by the events that led to the deaths. Results of forensic investigations into the cause are still pending. The Buffalo City Metro has confirmed that it's launched an investigation into the tavern as to whether the structure complied with safety regulations and how it had been built in a place that's zoned as a residential area. Let's go live now to our reporter, Lubabalo Dada, who joins us for an update. Lubabalo, good evening to you and welcome. We know our sister program, It's Topical, will be broadcasting live from East London. Give us a sense of what to expect.
Yes, indeed. Today marks exactly a week since the death of 21 young people at eNyobeni tavern last Sunday. The wounds are still fresh and the families are still battling with the loss. They are puzzled. They want to know, they want answers as to what happened to their children on that day. The police are yet to release the results of the post-mortem, and the preparations for the funeral are well underway now. It's just only 2 days remaining for the funeral, which will be on Wednesday. But with me, I am joined by the community safety spokesperson, Unati Pingose, to talk to us about the preparations for the funeral. Thank you, sir, for your time. We do understand that the funeral will be held in an open field here in Scenery Park. Talk to us about that.
That is very correct, sir, and those are the wishes of the community of Scenery Park, particularly those who have lost their loved ones and those who had their children as part of that gathering that has claimed 21 young lives in a brutal way like that. And the government as a whole has agreed to accede to their wishes of having that mass funeral taking place right here in Scenery Park. And of course, we've got to applaud them for allowing government to take the initiative of having a mass funeral to say goodbye, to say our final farewell to these 21 young lives in one funeral service. And of course, they will be allowed time to bury, to do the actual burying, the burial of their loved ones in their separate places as they wishes. But of course, we are going ahead as planned with the mass funeral, and it's scheduled for Wednesday in the next 48 hours or so.
All right. I understand that all the bodies now have been identified.
Thankfully, they have, and we were a bit worried because there was one that took slightly longer than others to be identified. But by Wednesday last week, thankfully, the parents and the relatives of that one were able to come forward and claim that body. And of course, that gave us the free license to go ahead with the mass funeral service. And of course, we've noticed on social media that there were quite a number of reports that postmortems were not done on those bodies, and we want to allay those fears, and we want to assure the public and the South Africa at large that postmortems have been done on each of those 21 bodies. And of course, there were some tests that were run on those who were in hospital as well. But what caused the confusion is that bodies were released as early as Sunday evening, merely a few hours after they arrived at the mortuary. It's because samples, tissues were taken as soon as they arrived there, and the pathologists stressed the need to get those samples as early as possible while those bodies were still fresh, so that those who are of the belief that bodies have got to be buried within hours of death can be allowed to do that. It is for that reason that bodies were released on the same day that they arrived. It is because those samples were taken, and we're still waiting the results of the post-mortem from our experts in Cape Town. And we want to urge the public. We understand the public interest in this story. We understand the degree of impatience in terms of the results. It's been a week now, but we want to urge them to stop the speculations. We want to make that urge, particularly to the mainstream media, public media, rather social media, and the general public at large to rather stop these speculations and rather wait for the results of the post-mortem. They won't be kept a secret. We'll go public about them because we owe it to the public to tell them what killed 21 young South Africans. And of course, we'll start with the families, but we owe it to the public as well to tell them what exactly killed these young people, because it's through that we'll be able to avert this from happening in the future.
But there are those that were hospitalized. Any update on that? Have they been released?
Thankfully, we are pleased to announce that all those that were hospitalized have since been released. We've got that on good authority. We've spoken to our colleagues from the Department of Health. And one thing that the South Africans can take comfort in is that some serious tests were run on those who were in hospital as well. And that kind of report will be collaborated with what will be coming from the post-mortem to give us a precise answer as to what exactly has claimed the lives of young South Africans. Sadly, the 21 have died, and our responsibility as government is to ensure that those who were a part of that gathering, those who could have been a part of that 21 and probably make it worse, are saved going forward. We need to work together in ensuring that we come up with alternatives to our kids and ensure that they do not just resort to alcohol in terms of entertainment, but do have other options as well to replace this alcohol. But driving around is quite concerning to see so many of our young people being drawn into alcohol as a form of entertainment, and that is something that we have to work together with communities in ensuring that that changes. And we believe that the death of these 21 young kids, as sad as it is, it will be a catalyst for better things to come, not just for this community, but for South Africa at large, because we understand that what is happening, what we are seeing happening here, is just a microcosm of what is happening across the country. So it is incumbent upon us as government, working together with communities, to change the face of our young people and give them alternatives in terms of what they can do going forward in changing their lives. Mr. Dada, allow me to make this point as well. We've seen a lot of bashing of parents when it comes to this. Some were saying, where were they when this thing happened? One thing that I think we also need to be alive to is the fact that in South Africa we've got quite a huge community of people who are of rather child-headed households, so we need to be aware of that as well. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Unathi Bingose, that's the spokesperson for community safety. Later on today at 8 o'clock, between 8 rather and 9 o'clock, it's topical. We'll be broadcasting live here for an in-depth discussion on those issues relating to the death of 21 people. With that, it is back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, Lubabalo Dada. We'll certainly be following developments there quite keenly. And as you heard in that interview, of course, we're building up to the funeral ceremonies for the victims of the tragedy on Wednesday. The SABC will bring you live and complete coverage on that story.